Hello, hope you're well. This triangle represents 100% of this triangle. This triangle represents 100% of this triangle. This very same triangle represents 50% of something. This very same triangle also represents 50% of something. The thing that they represent 50% of is this square. Because when you add the two together, they come to the same area as this square. Imagine there's an island. On this island live 100 people. 10 of them are green and 90 of them are red. Each member of the island, no matter their colour, represents 1% of the island's total population. If the island had a population of 50 people, each person on the island would represent 2% of the island's population, because 100 divided by 50 equals 2. And if the island had a population of 12 people, each person would represent 8.3% of the island's total population, because 100 divided by 12 equals 8.3. Imagine also that there is a factory on the island. The factory employs 5 people, because that is all that the factory requires to be working at its full potential. And furthermore, the labour that is done by its 5 workers is exactly the amount needed to keep the island going in terms of making sure that everyone is fed and they have water, etc. Don't worry about who the manager is of the factory, it's just a factory with 5 people working in it. If 5 of the green people work in the factory, then that means that the factory has a 100% green workforce, but that does not mean that 100% of the green people are employed. It actually means that 50% of the green people are employed, and that 50% of the green people are unemployed. It also means that 100% of the red people don't work at all. The total workforce population is 5 people, and each workforce employee represents 20% of the island's workforce population, because 100 divided by 5 equals 20. The 5 comes from the amount of employees on the island. If the factory employed 7 people and all 7 jobs were filled, the total workforce population would represent 7% of the island's total population, with each member of the workforce representing 14.29% of the factory's total workforce population, because 100 divided by 7 equals 14.29. Now let's go back to imagining that the factory employs 5 people, and all of them are green. If one of those green people becomes sick and is unable to work, and the job is filled by a red person, then that means that the green people have gone from being 100% of the island's total workforce population to being 80% of it, with the other 20% being represented by the red person who took the job of the green person. The green people have now changed from having 50% of them in work and 50% of them out of work to having 60% of them out of work, with 40% of them being in work. As we know, the green people are 10% of the island's total population and the red people are 90. Imagine that a plague strikes the island and all of the red people and 1 of the green people die. Before the plague, the green people were only 10% of the island's population, but because of the plague, they now represent 100% of the island's population. Their percentage of the island's population has actually increased, even though 1 of the green people died. Why has their percentage increased to 100? Well, all of the red people have died, so the only people left on the island are green. So they have gone from representing just 10% of the island's population with only 10 people to representing 100% of the island's population with just 9 people. This is because the green people are the only people left on the island, so there are no red people to count. What percentage of the island's population does each of these 9 green people represent? 11.1%, because 100 divided by 9 equals 11.1. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.